evaluate kind of what you did right, what you did wrong, et cetera?
Look, it's my job as offense coordinator, whether we have 11 new players or whether we're all the same. I have to score points and we got to win football games. And so to me, it's not about, if people are new or it's the same people again. It's my job to, we have to put up points and we have to have success offensively. And so if we're not doing that, regardless if it's new people or not, I'm not doing my job.
What feedback did you get? I know you don't want to get into specifics, but what feedback did you get about your own Q rating, if you will, when you went out on the interview circuit this past fall?
Yeah, that's something that I couldn't even tell you about that, and a lot of that's personal right now. But it was great experiences for me. But it's the last thing on my mind right now. It's all about trying to find ways to win football games here in Carolina, and the rest will take care of itself.
Joe, Matt told us he looked at a lot of old tape of Sam prior to the trade. I'm guessing you did some of that as well. Was there a game? Was there a series that kind of sticks out in your mind? As you look back at it now, that you're like, whoa, arm strength, or this is why he could fit in this system?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's anything in particular. Look, when you evaluate a quarterback over a few years, there's going to be a lot of great plays. I can put a cut up together of, I was a pretty bad wide receiver in college, but if I put a highlight tape, I can put 5 plays that I can look pretty good probably. But so I wouldn't say it was anything in particular. It was just, just seeing, his, seeing him make reads, seeing the throws, seeing him play off schedule, seeing him, in the pocket, identifying protection. So there's a lot. It's not like you're getting a guy that's brand new. You're getting a veteran, a guy that happens to just be young. And so, that's what that was extremely enticing to us.
Joe, I know it's early, but with Christian coming off injury, he told us he wants to be full go. He's out here, all that. I know last year when we talked to you, your plan was to use him, as much as he had the year prior. Do you kind of feel the same way about him, or have his injuries changed anything for you?
My mindset has not changed with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, you can obviously feel the difference when Christian's out on the football field. You see the production of it, but I told Christian I don't need Christian to be anything more than Christian McCaffrey, and I think that's important for him to know that he doesn't have anything to prove to me, to prove to anybody else. He just needs to be Christian McCaffrey, and when he's coming out here, the work ethic that he's putting into it, man, it's impressive. It's every day there's examples that he's putting on tape that I want everybody to be like, hey, we got to play like this.
How does Chuba's addition diversify what you can do with Christian, especially when they're on the field at the same time?
Well, look, I obviously he excited us about the prospect, and Coach Rule going against him in college, he knew all about him, but it's the way we look at it is right now we're not looking for any particular person saying, hey, this is the guy that's going to help elevate this guy's game. That running back room is pushing itself right now, and so I think it's a great group of guys that they're all eager, they're excited, they're young, and so they're hungry. And so when you got a guy like Christian that they're following off of, we're obviously pumped about the idea of Chuba kind of finding a role in this offense, but just seeing the work ethic and seeing how everybody else is raising their game because of Christian is what obviously excites you.
Teddy mentioned the fact that, and I don't think he was blaming you, but he said we didn't practice enough red zone or 2-minute drills. Address that, and are you making any adjustments in what you're doing offensively with your practice plans this year?
No, I don't have anything to say. I know Coach Rule kind of already addressed that with regards to Teddy's comments, but I think as a play caller, you're always looking at what you had success with and what you did. And the reality of it is we had a lot of 2-minute opportunities last year, and we didn't, I didn't get the job done. And so no matter what, we're going to evaluate. I'm going to evaluate myself every year, and we just got to be better in those situations.
Joe, do you need the tight ends to be productive for your passing game to be successful, or are there ways to kind of work around that, maybe like you did last year?
Yeah, no, I mean, I loved how our tight ends work. There's a reason, we feel like in that tight end room in this offseason, we've, athleticism that we've added, is something. I think it's important to get the tight ends involved. The system that the tree that I, kind of grew up in, it's, the tight ends are the most important position on the field, and, the matchups that they create and everything. And so, it's been a point of emphasis this offseason, just trying to get those guys going in the passing game, and I think those guys have kind of taken it and ran with it.
Having said that, a guy like, go ahead.
You had familiarity with Terrace Marshall. What could he potentially add, and what you really like about him when you all were together at LSU?
Yeah, I think Terrace's mindset is what kind of separates him. I think he's one of those guys that never gets too high, never gets too low, and I think that's important at the wide receiver position. You're going to have good plays and bad plays, and when you watch Terrace, no matter how many games he played, he was productive, and I think he probably would have been more productive. He just so happened to be playing with other great players, and so I think when you combine his mindset and his playmaking ability, that that was something that we definitely look for that.
Having said that about the tight end, Trimble, we often knows a really good blocker. Didn't have a big reputation for receiver. Are there things you can do to make him that threat as a receiver, and how important is it for him to be that as well as a good blocker?
Yeah, I think he's, the athleticism that he's shown. I think Coach Ange has done a great job of working with him and developing his game in the pass game. But I don't see Tommy as a guy that's just a run blocker. I see as a guy that I think is eager to be a complete tight end. And so it's our job right now, OTAs and training camp, to just find out exactly what he can and just kind of evolve and roll with that.
Now that you've had like a good amount of time to take a step back from your first season as an offensive coordinator, is there anything that you want to do differently this year that you were like, I wish I'd realized that halfway through the season, or something that now looking back you plan to change?
Well, I think every year, I might have said it day one, as your system should evolve every year. If you're just doing the same thing over and over, regardless if you're having success, people are going to catch up to you, and if you're not having success, you obviously have to continue to evolve it. And so that was something that's is just natural, regardless of we were 5-11 last year. We have to do better. But I think from my standpoint, every not getting OTAs last year, every rep that we get out here is one more rep than we got last year. And so that for me is I'm so intentional about those reps and how important and how vital they are. And so I'm just as critical about myself not having success, but knowing that every rep out here is going to make us better next year.
Your assessment of Arnold and also Ian.
Yeah, no, I've been pleased with the their work ethic. They're making plays in the passing game, and they're developing their game in the run game. And so I don't want tight ends, that sitting there just trying to focus on one thing or the other. And I think that unit, the tight end room right now understands the importance of being complete tight ends. And so at this point, like I said, we're not getting ready to play a game. So we're going to ask guys to do something that they might have not done in the past and see if it becomes something that they can or cannot do. And, I think the work that they've had has been great. I've been extremely pleased.
In a perfect world, what do you envision David Moore's role being?
We have two David Moores.
The receiver.
We got a DJ Moore and two David Moores.
The receiver, David Moore.
No, in my mind, I think he's a guy that's coming in here that we saw. He made plays, obviously, in Seattle, and obviously with Scott, having, familiarity with them. But he's a guy that's going to come here and, and find his niche. And I think that's right now we're kind of working through that and just figuring out. But we know that the guy has been productive in the NFL. He's made plays, and whether he's going to help us on third down, red zone, in these situations, I think all that we're going to kind of find that out as, as training camp comes. But I've been pleased with his work ethic.
What do you call those three guys inside?
Well, that's a great question. A lot of times they know, I got, I'm still trying to come up with the name. I'm trying to come up with a name for Brady Christensen, because when I hear Brady, I naturally look. So, but we're finding our ways. A lot of them know what they're doing. If we're looking at a pass play, I know David Moore, the O-lineman, he's waiting for the end zone view, so I don't worry about it too much.
Do you think Sam he's been in big markets his entire career, L.A. and now New York, what do you think coming to a smaller market, maybe not quite the focus, is going to do for him?
I don't think Sam is even thinking about the market. I think what I've loved about Sam is he has been all football since he's gotten here. He's not concerned with. I think he's said he's got a mattress on the floor. He's all ball, and so that's been as a guy to coach it. We're only allowed to be with him in the building right now and talking football, but just seeing when he steps in the door that day and we're ready for meetings, the questions he has from the previous day, and so you're coaching a guy that's all ball, that's eager, and he's not just, he doesn't want to please, he wants to have success. And so I think there's a difference. And so, that's something I love.
I know Curtis was someone you really liked last year, and obviously he was big on third down. Is there someone as obviously it's early, but who do you envision maybe filling some of that role? Is that going to go on the tight ends, or how do you kind of see where's that role going?
Yeah, the reality of it is there's 1,000 yards out there that, guys got to make plays, and I think it's a great challenge to the guys. And, I wish Curtis all the best. But whether it's the tight end room, the running back room, we've challenged all the guys. The wide receiver room, DJ can get more of those yards, and so Robbie, it all kind of comes full circle. And so we're just challenging those guys that those yards are somewhere, and it's about who's going to make the most of that opportunity. But to pinpoint one guy right now, I think it's a game-to-game thing, and then see who makes the most opportunities in training camp.
Is there anything in particular you're wanting Sam Darnold to work on these OTAs and going into training camp?
I wouldn't say there's anything in particular. We're having an approach every single day of hey, this is what we're going to get better at. This is what we're going to focus on. So, one day it might be we're going to just work on this three-step, footwork. One day it might be, hey, some of these reads. And it's the same way we'd approach it when we're 10 years in the system. And so we're just going to start over every time. But, I've loved how he's just taken and just focused on it and has made the most of it.
So, hey, hold on 1 second. We'll take one more from Jonathan and then one more from Joe, and then we'll wrap.
So basically, you're scrapping whatever mistakes he made in the past and just starting from scratch. from here?
No, I wouldn't say that. We're just starting from scratch every year with, same thing with Christian McCaffrey. We're starting over. Hey, this is how we're going to teach this and this, even though he's had 1,000 seasons. So we're just sitting there saying, hey, I know this is what you might have done in the past. This is what we might have done last year with DJ Moore, but hey, we're starting over. And so we're just having the mindset with everybody, not in any particular, like, hey, this is what you've been coached. This is how we're going to do things here in Carolina.
With the ease of Zoom interviews, there was a narrative this year that a lot of teams, including the Panthers when they interviewed for GM, wanted to pick guys' brains. When you went through the interview cycle, were you able to do that kind of in reverse and kind of bring back anything that'd be beneficial for the Panthers in your offense?
Yeah, I'm sure that there's things that stand out, but I was just grateful for the opportunities and got to got an experience that not many people were fortunate enough to get, and so yeah, I'm sure there's stuff that you can pick up, but nothing that immediately comes to my head.
Thanks, Joe.
I appreciate you
Thank
guys.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a little weird not having a little desk ready for you
know.
guys. You know what I mean? Where's my poker player?
Yeah.
He's not here.
Not here.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Sean Ryan, just in case you guys don't know,
Yeah,
quarterback coach. So new here, first year. Break the ice. There you go.
I'm Joe with The Athletic.
All right,
Good
Joe.
to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Joe, David, Elena, Jonathan, and
David,
Darren.
yes.
Remember them all. There's a
All right.
quiz at the end.
Yeah, I got no shot.
I guess just why did you want to take the job here? What your experience with Matt? What connections brought you here?
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing Coach Rule and what he's done in his coaching career, and having worked with him a little bit, I knew somewhat to expect, and I knew things would be done top notch. I knew there'd be a great culture built, and I wanted to be part of it and part of what we're trying to get done here.
A lot of focus on Sam Darnold coming in here. Obviously struggled at New York. What are you doing to repair that, tear that down, and rebuild, or just kind of explain your process with him?
Yeah, the process would be like any other quarterback I've ever worked with, which is you start from, in my opinion, always from the feet up. That's what I believe in. So we're doing that with all three guys. I've done it with every guy I've ever worked with. I think when your feet are right and your lower half is correct, there's a really good chance that the ball's going to go in the right spot. So we work a ton on that. So I think that's a general philosophy of what I like to do with quarterbacks. That's the starting point. And then again, with all these guys, we're starting from scratch. We're learning new verbiage and new language, and trying to get that and to be second nature, so that we can just go out and process, make good decisions. So I mean, that's really the goal for the entire room. Get a little bit better every day.
And having said that, what do you think was the issue with him the last 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer that. I didn't work with him on a daily basis, so we all know he's got talent. I think Coach Brady's talked about that. Coach Rule, it's certainly evident to see. So I just worry about what I see here, and it's general to quarterback play. You're going to work in the same stuff all the time. It's our mechanics, our decision making, and that's what we're doing with him.
Joe was talking about how he broke down tape of him in New Orleans when he was coming out. Did you have background like that with Sam?
I did. Yeah, I mean, when he was coming out for the draft, especially out of USC, and again, same thing. Very impressed by, you could see a lot of football intelligence coming from the guy, and you could see a lot of arm talent, and so those two things really jumped out off of the tape at you and were impressive.
Anything different in his game now compared to them? Good, bad, indifferent?
Yeah, I think he's probably more seasoned, and probably 3 years against NFL defenses have forced him to probably improve even more in his football intelligence, and decision making. You got to be right on point in this league because of the speed differences at every position. So, I think those things probably show up, and just football knowledge in general. I mean, he loves football. He's great to have football conversations with, and I think that's really important.
What level of strengths does he have that you're trying to take advantage of?
Yeah, I think first and foremost it's arm talent. I mean, the guy's got that. Number two, it's toughness and competitiveness. I mean, what you got to have at that position. I think he's got those. There's no question. And then it's in the classroom, him being a football junkie, him loving to watch film, dissecting film, talking ball. When you have those things, like, you got a lot to work with.
What level of input did you have in the room in terms of trying to, get him here as far as that goes? I know that you guys had a lot of options in terms of the switch, but what level of input did you have as far as that goes?
Yes, you always have the same input as a position coach, which is, you evaluate tape, you evaluate players, whether it be college players, whether it be free agents, whether it be guys' potential trades. You give your input to the higher ups, powers that be, and then you see what happens. That's the way it is. And when the guys show up in your room, you're excited to work with them, and you go ahead and you move forward.
Sean, you talked about teaching guys the same way from the feet up. You've coached a lot of different kinds of quarterbacks.
Yep.
How do you apply kind of that same method to guys who have different abilities, skill sets?
Yeah, it's the great part about it really is because that consistency and some footwork never changes. You know what I mean? Like when you want someone to have calm, quiet mechanics, as I like to call them, in the pocket, when you want them to have that, that goes over all kinds of guys. Doesn't matter if it's young guys, old guys, guys that they consider running quarterbacks, or it's a common thread through good quarterback play, and I think that's what's solid about it. You know, why I hang my hat on it.
Is there something that Sam's really having to learn in Joe's offense that's like very different or new to him, that like specific that he kind of has to change in his game?
I think with any guy coming into a new spot, a new system, especially quarterbacks, right? I mean, the one thing that gets overlooked sometimes, everyone wants to talk about, the physical things. A lot of it's language. A lot of it's just you're learning to say a new language, and then you've got to apply it to a concept, and then you've got to be able to progress it against different defensive looks. And I think that's really it, is first getting the language down where, hey, this becomes natural. I understand this concept. And then I can go out and I can attack defenses with it. And, so that's first and foremost what's always the first step.
How would you evaluate the rest of the quarterback room?
Oh, I think they're doing well. I mean, to me, like when you combine two things, like where I always think you've got a chance to work with a guy, right, and have success, is there's two things that I'll put above everything, right? It's a desire and it's obviously talent. And when these guys are dedicated to their craft, like these guys are, and they stay in the room and they work extra, they do extra, when they do that and they have talent, which both those other guys do, Will and PJ, when you've got that, then you can work with these guys. So you get excited about them, They're younger players in terms of, playing experience in this league, but when you have those things, like, you can work with them.
How much of just knowing what you know about PJ and Will went into not adding a rookie, even if it was later in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, again, when it comes to those decisions, like, we evaluated quarterbacks coming out, you write your reports, you give your opinions, and then the draft happens, and the decision makers are going to do what they feel is best for the program, and that's the direction you go in.
For Sam to have a successful season like you want, what type of things do you think need to happen from now until before the season?
I think it's the same things we've been talking about. To me, it's continued understanding of our offense, how it applies to defensive looks, decision making off of that, which is going to be crucial for us, making good decisions, right? Ball security is always going to be part of it, and then continuing to hone our footwork and get our timing down and our rhythm, throwing in rhythm. But I think when we combine those things, it'll lead to success.
How do you teach to improve in decision making? I mean, that's one of those things he's been doing all his life. How do you all of a sudden improve that?
Yeah, I think it's just it's again adding the concepts. Hey, this is our progression versus this certain defensive look in this concept, and you do it over and over again, and then you do it in the with the virtual reality, and then you do it off of film, and then you do it on the practice field, and then you do it again and again and again, and until it's ingrained, and then decision making improves.
We heard Matt say that when the jet system, Sam was a little static in the pocket, and you guys are getting to kind of have him slide around a little bit more. Could you expand on that and why that's important? Yeah,
so I think, sometimes, I guess the example I would give you is a lot of people talk about mobile quarterbacks. It's a huge topic, right, with quarterbacks. This is a mobile quarterback, this is not a mobile quarterback. And sometimes people miss, in my opinion, just like subtle movements, like in the pocket movements. In other words, to me, less moving parts equals more accuracy. So I think a lot of times what gets overlooked is a subtle movement up in the pocket, to the side of the pocket, but I'm still in a great throwing position. And, we've done a lot of that in this off season where it's been like, hey, there's, we use ball drills, we use, bags, throwing bags at them, we use, just directions with our hands, and it's subtle movements here, but being in still a great throwing position. And I think that gets overlooked a lot of times, and we've spent a lot of time working on that.
I guess just Sam, obviously we talked a lot about him on the field, but just you've worked with a lot of quarterbacks before, I guess, how does he strike you off the field, maybe not in direct comparison to the guys we've coached in the past, but just how does he strike you, like, outside of playing football?
Yeah, so I think there's a great combination of seriousness and really being dedicated, to being a good quarterback at this level, being professional, which he definitely is, and that comes across. He loves football. That comes across to me right away. But then also when there's, sometimes we have long meetings, and there's going to be a 5-10 minute window where we're going to joke around. We're going to talk about whatever, how bad we are at golf, and he can do that. He can be laid back. It's a great combination. and it really creates a really good atmosphere for work in that room because everybody knows when it's time to go, it's time to go. When it's time to cut loose and get to know each other and have a little fun, we can do that. So really good combination of those two things.
And how do you view the PJ and Wills? Is it a competition between the two of them? Is that how you kind of view it? How do you kind of view what this next few weeks will look like for them through training camp?
Yeah, I view them as the same as the other 90 guys that are out here. It's all a competition. So yes, we're just trying to get better every day, but certainly it's a competition for all of us.
Is Sam bad at golf?
Hey, listen, I don't know. You know,
Is that what he
I
says?
haven't golfed with him yet, so I know I'm bad at golf, and I'm honest with those guys about it. So,
is there anything? How would you just describe the room? With the three of them together, and you what's it like? Are they helping each other out? Just what kind of is it like between the three of them?
Very much so. Very much so. Like I said, it's a room that has very good football talks, conversations. And even though everyone knows it's the National Football League, we're all in competition, we all got to win, it's got a good vibe to it. It really does. I mean, it's a great combination of work and, like I said, of guys working with each other and helping each other. And, we're just trying to move forward every day and just get a little bit better every day.
Y'all good?
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Sean.
All right, fellas.
Good to
Thank
meet
you.
you, man.
Good to meet you guys.
Appreciate you. All right, thanks.